I'm Roberta Dowling, and I'm making the filling for my lobster ravioli. I'm going to start by adding a little bit of oil and a little bit of butter in a skillet. When that melts, I'm going to saute some shallots, which are finely chopped. Okay, I have my butter and oil melted. And I'm going to saute these finely chopped shallots for a few minutes. Get a nice aroma from the shallots. And as soon as they get soft and golden, I'm going to add my lobster meat. And I really don't want to cook this a lot. So I'm going to throw it in, and I'm just going to warm it through and pull it off. Okay, I am going to add a little bit of brandy to it and a little bit of white wine. And as soon as that evaporates, I'm taking it off the heat. Because obviously you buy the lobster meat, it's been pre-cooked, so you're really not, the attempt is just to basically warm it through. And you also don't want it too warm because I'm going to mix it with the mascarpone. And the mascarpone obviously could melt. So as soon as I've got this all nicely combined, I'm going to season it with a little bit of salt. And a little bit of pepper. Pinch of nutmeg. Anytime you use nutmeg and a cream together, it's a marriage. It's kind of like basil and tomato. So just want to feel that. It's a little warm. We're just going to let this cool for a few minutes till it cools down and doesn't melt the mascarpone. So I'm going to set it aside. And when cool, we're going to combine it with the mascarpone and the chopped basil. The lobster meat is cooled. And I'm now going to prepare the filling with my mascarpone. And mix that well. So I've added the mascarpone, and I'm going to add a little bit of egg in there to help as a binder. Now you want to be able to, you see when I do that with my spoon, to have it just fall slowly off. If it just plops, then obviously it's too loose. So I'm not going to add a tremendous amount of egg, just a teeny bit of egg, and mix that up. You want to always taste your seasoning again, even though we seasoned it before. Seasoning is kind of like a symphony, and as you go through every step, you re-season. So I'm going to add my basil, which has been chopped, and mix that in. Okay. And we can begin to fill. I have my lobster filling here for my raviolis, and the sauce that goes with these raviolis is really quite simple. What it basically is a compound butter that has some truffle mixed into it that's finely chopped. The way it's made is the butter is usually creamed You could take, you know, half a pound of butter, depending upon how many raviolis you're making. And if you're feeling lavish, then chop up a whole truffle and put it in. Lots of people don't know what truffles are, but truffle is a pot plant, a pot fungus. It lives in a symbiotic relationship with the branch of a tree. You can't have a truffle without a tree. Truffles are hard to come by. They're also quite expensive. You could possibly do it with chopped up mushrooms if you wanted to avoid it. And instead of a fresh truffle, you could also buy a truffle that's in a jar. It has a little liquid. You would just drain off the liquid and chop it up. And it's a teeny bit less expensive than a black truffle. I'm going to take this lobster filling, and first I'm going to start by brushing each bottom with a little bit of egg wash, more specifically to make sure that the bottom is totally coated. It's a good idea to use a teeny spoon because obviously this is not a huge ravioli. And take a little of this filling and basically put it around and fill each ravioli with the filling. Obviously, I want the bow on the bottom because that's where I originally placed it. So now I'm going to put my top on and very gently seal in the edges. So we'll go to the Christmas tree and brush it with a Dora. This is a white Christmas tree. Oh, I broke the bottom. It's very important that you don't let the pasta dry out very much because it has a tendency to obviously break. And so I broke the stem off, but we'll just make do. And then we get that covered with some lobster filling. Notice that I'm leaving a little bit of a parameter open because I want to be able to put my top on. This filling is certainly enough to fill at least 24 ravioli of this size. If obviously you made them larger, well then it would be less, but there's quite a bit of filling. As you can see, you don't put anything more than a tablespoon of filling or a tablespoon and a half maximum into each ravioli. We'll just stick these into the freezer and it'll freeze up, and then you just trim them before you pop them in the water. I'm now going to cook these lovely ravioli, and you have to very gingerly cook them. You want to make sure you don't have too much water. You don't cook them in a traditional way or manner that you would cook an ordinary ravioli with a large pot of water. So I can remember again my great aunt saying they have to be able to float around and move and have lots of room to swim. Well, that's not the way it works with these, because if I put them in a large pot, obviously I would lose all my decorations. So I'm gingerly going to just slip them off into the skillet. Now I want to tell you something else I did is I just ever so slightly buttered the bottom of the skillet. And the reason being is when they first go in, and this is not quite, you see this is not quite simmering water, they will sink to the bottom. And what I don't want to happen is I want them to be able to rise up a little bit and not stick to the bottom, so that's why I put the butter there. And we'll just, as I said, gradually drop these in very gingerly. And they are covered. They just have to be covered enough so that the pasta cooks. There we go. And we'll wait for it to come up. Now, I should have added some salt, but you can add that now. It's not a big deal. You just want to make sure the water is salted. And as I said, there's not a lot of water there, so that should do it. My pasta's cooking, and I'm about ready to remove them from the water. But beforehand, I'm just heating up my compound butter, truffle butter a little bit. And then I'm going to spoon it onto the plate. I'm going to show you how to remove the raviolis without them getting We'll just put a little, I'm going to put it underneath rather than on top because you don't want to distract from all the garnishes that you've put on the pasta. I have a round slotted spoon here, and as I take it out you can see that it's a little wet. So I'm going to just drain it on this paper toweling to get some of the excess water out so it won't dilute my butter. Well, here you have a festive ravioli. And all I have to say is enjoy and Buon Natale.